What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Team Hold So Rare. It's Game Week NBA 26. We got a little bit more value hunting to get into. I hope everybody's doing well this game week. I'm actually going to do this a little bit differently now. I think as we head into the each value hunting episode, we're going to do a little lineup review at the top and see how we're rocking out, and if there are any decisions that we should have made differently, and maybe use some of that information to go into our next game week. And there's only one takeaway that I'm going to have. I'm excited to get to it. Let's start with our limited contender is a fun one right now, as we had our boy Şengün go ham last night, drop a 74 bags. We did talk some Marvin Bagley, right? He dropped a 42. Thad Young with 14, and Shamit Face was a little disappointing with 11. But then we still have Mikal Bridges with another game. Actually, Shamit's got another game too. And we're right now taking home a limited tier 3, so that's fun. Our rare contender. That was the other one I wanted to check out. I think we're just done playing Killian Hayes. Okay, we're not going to listen to projections anymore. He dropped 13 in his one game this game week. We're still 7 points away, and we have another Bags game and another Bradley Beal game. So what, maybe that jumps up a little bit, but still some teams that haven't played, right? The Dallas Mavericks. As I see my rare champ here. We got Jalen Green. It was very disappointing. Jordan Poole, pretty disappointing. Everybody pretty disappointing, but Kyrie still isn't gone. So yeah, I think I might be done. I think I might be pressing pause on Killian Hayes for the foreseeable future. But let's dive into this game week. If this is your first time here over at the Team Hold Streets, welcome. Make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel, and then at the end, just drop a comment and let me know who your favorite value play is heading into game week 26. And if you haven't signed up for So Rare yet, use our link. It makes us look good. If you do some auctions, you get do 5 auctions, get a 6-1 free or something like that. But who knows how many new people are coming through these days, all right, let's dive in. First thing that we're going to cover today, instead of just going player by player, it's the Chicago Bulls. So Zach LaVine is missing a little bit of time. I think he's going to be out a couple of weeks now, which probably tanks any sort of trade value, as we're only 3 weeks away from the trade deadline. But we've seen this before, right? And Zach LaVine has been back just long enough that some of these caps have come back down. And now we get DeRozan in great spots. We get Io. Kobe White has been incredible. Nikola Vucevic have been playing more matchup based than anything else. But I'm going to dive into some of the projections on these Chicago Bulls because they are towards the top. So Kobe White has a cap of 36 and a projection of 50, which is a fun way to start. Now, again, a lot of these projections are that I'm going to be referencing are ceiling projections too. So, we could absolutely see Kobe White go out there and drop a deuce as in a poop. But here we go. So his cap is of 36. This is probably, I feel like this can be one of your higher end contender plays, but would also fall in a champion lineup as well. So $8 for his limited year 2, 38 for his rare year 2. Let's just look at his most recent performances here, right? So you're seeing he's just pretty consistent. The 26-23, you get a 42, a 30, but all of these just like big number games. And again, with no LaVine now, I feel like he's going to get a little bit more. Just a little bit more usage, right? It's less shots to go around. If we want to get a little grosser here in the streets of the Chicago Bulls, let's look up our friend Patrick Williams. So Patrick Williams, and I spelled that incorrectly, so that's not going to pop up in the search, and that is how it works. But we're not editing this because I trust the process. So Patrick Williams has a cap of 16. You can see for $21 for his rare year 1. His limited year 2 is right around 4. So Patrick Williams this game week has a cap of 16 and projects for just under 30 points. Excuse me. They have 2 games. The one thing to pay attention to with Patrick Williams is he is questionable right now. He's a little dinged up with an ankle sprain, I believe. I think he's trending towards playing. So again, this is something we'll have more news as we get closer tomorrow, right? For the before lock, which you should tune into Mondays at 5:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. But if Patrick Williams is good, this is like a great contender play. Also, like if it helps make your champion lineup, that's fire as well. So we love Patty Will this week, and then let's actually stay in the backcourt of the Chicago Bulls, and we'll look up Io DeSumo, who is also pretty cheap here. Look at his year 2 limited is 4. His year 2 rare is $23. And you see Io over here. If we look at his recent performances, I know he had a solid game the other night. Yeah, against the Grizzlies, dropped 36. That was the first game without LaVine too, right? So in this game week, Io projects for just over 32 fantasy points. So cap of 20 projects for over 32. That's pretty solid. We like that. We like that quite a bit. I think you can capitalize on the Bulls this week, especially while their caps are a little bit lower. And what's nice about it is we know Levine's going to miss a couple of weeks, so this is like consecutive game weeks that you'll be able to rock with these Chicago Bulls, who both have 2 games. Speaking of that, I just wanted to see if we had any teams with 3 games this upcoming game week, and we do. So we have the Minnesota Timberwolves, who I feel like are going a little under the radar here and I want to call it like smash value, but Rudy Gobert has been playing really, really good basketball, both both from like the team aspect and the defensive aspect, but he's just been kind of a monster. And his cap is now at 37, but he projects for 46 fantasy points. So I feel like if you a high end contender type lineup, but I think he could work in your champion as well. And if like let's look at some of these recent performances here from the favorite to win defensive player of the year. So the matchup against the Thunder, he wasn't great last night. He only dropped 28. But prior to this, right, that's 5 consecutive game weeks of a 42-point performance or better. You have 46, 49, 48, 43, 48. So Rudy has been on a heater. And what I love about him, he's probably not scoring like 25 actual points a game, right? But he can get you 15 boards almost in his sleep. So and then if you get a good block or steal performance, all of a sudden Rudy crushes. You get 3 game weeks out of him. I really like that. What's crazy to say that this is considered a value play is Anthony Edwards. So Anthony Edwards' cap is all the way down to 39. I think part of that was playing through a little bit of injury. He had a couple of weird performances, so his cap has dipped down a little bit. He projects for almost 55 fantasy points. So this could, like, if you could make this work this kind of feels like when we were playing Kyrie Irving in our contender lineups, because his cap was in that 37 to 40 range. I feel like that's a pretty huge advantage you can have if you have the right value pieces to make that work. You can see his limited year one is 37, but yeah, so he had his scores have been all over the place in recency, right? So if we go back a couple game weeks, it's 44, 45, 45. That's fine. 33, 65. I think he got hurt in the Magic game, right? So he only got 5 in that one. Then 34, 28, 51, 42, 40, and then 24 last night against the Thunder. 3 games this game week, man. This is a great play. He actually projects, looking at a couple of different projections, as like one of the overall best value plays this entire game week. And again, I think it's because of that. That cap being all the way down at 39, and we know what his ceiling can be. I'm going to pull up Jalen Duren again too, even though the Pistons hurt me. They hurt me bad, and he continues to project really well each and every game week. Now, it was 2 week, not his most recent game, but 2 games ago, we finally saw that ceiling that was being projected the last couple of game weeks. As you see, he went up to 49 against the Wizards in game week 24, and then followed up with the 21 against the Bucks in what was a weird game. It ended up being a guard heavy game, and we saw like some smaller dudes like Asar Thompson like really pop. But Jalen Duren, again, man, his cap is 35, and projections still have him north of 50 fantasy points. So rare fantasy points. So that would work in almost any sort of contest, right? If you have your guy who's going to cap for 35 and is cooking like that. The Grizzlies too, we can go back to that situation and just kind of check in. I know we've talked about a lot of these guys. Xavier Tillman continues to be the safest play with also probably the most upside. So his cap is 19. At this point, he's projecting over 31 fantasy points right now. And if we look at his most recent performances, right, you've got 20 and 27. He did not play. So we got to monitor if that was injury related or what that was. I'm actually going to pull up you won't see this, but I'm going to pull up the box score from the most recent Grizzlies game, which I believe was Friday night. Let me see if I can find that right. So the Grizzlies on Friday played, or did they play last night? No, did they play last night? I thought they played Friday. My sincerest apologies for not being prepared on box score checking. They played the Bulls last night. They got blown out 125-96 by the Chicago Bulls. So Jaren Jackson Jr. played 33 minutes. Xavier Tillman did not play this game, right? So off the bench, which I think we should look at, Zaire Williams played 22 minutes. David Roddy played 32 minutes. So Roddy's minutes seemed pretty safe. Gigi Jackson and Jacob Gilyard, who they seemed like the very sexy, fun picks when the injuries first went down, They only played 19 minutes and 16 minutes respectively. So really, David Roddy and Zaire Williams are the two main bench pieces right now. And this is without Tillman, right? And then you get Vince Williams, Luke Kennard, Conchar, Santi Aldama, and Jaren Jackson Jr. They seem to be the guys that are getting the biggest run. So let's actually, and I'm not a fan of playing Luke Kennard typically in any sort of fantasy um, format, just because I feel like he's so reliant on knocking down threes. And in that game, he scored 14 points, 6 assists, and 2 rebounds in 30 minutes. Like, that's fine. His cap's 22. He projects for 32. So that, I mean, that is a solid value. So I shouldn't dunk on that too hard. I always just prefer the guys. Like, what I like about Xavier Tillman is that he can also get you a lot of peripheral stats, maybe like, 8 to 10 rebounds, couple blocks, because we know Jaren Jackson Jr. doesn't rebound. So that's kind of why that sticks out. But Vince Williams is probably my favorite pick here. And I know his cap will respect, right? Like, it's at 26 already. But he seems to be the guy that is taking the biggest leap for the Grizzlies. He projects for 36 fantasy points, so you're getting a little 11-point boost on that, which we like. And then the last two dudes we should take a peek at is John Conchar, who, again, that's probably not a fun click. I don't know. Everyone's like, ooh, finally, John Conchar. But his cap is of 11. In that most recent game, again, this was no Xavier Tillman, so keep that in mind. Played 27 minutes, only got 2 points, but he had 2 blocks, 6 dimes, and 5 boards. So for a cap of 11, that'll get it done. That will get it done. This game week, he has a cap of 11 and projects for 20. So that's pretty solid. And then the last one, this man just returned from injury. I actually think he brings a lot to the table to Santi Aldama. Santi's got a cap of 18. You can see he's $6 for his year 2 limited and 22 for his rare year 1 and super rare. Well, let's not disrespect the super rare. It's 371. There you go. And for Santi Aldama, he has a cap of 18, projects for 29. So again, all of these Grizzlies can get there. They have 2 games this game week, and it's not a back-to-back. So I feel like you can get away with playing multiple in one lineup, right? I think this is the rich man's version of Killian Hayes, who, again, we're not going to talk about. We're not going to talk about Killian Hayes anymore, who has now just like torpedoed my my lineups the last 2 game weeks. All right, I want to make sure I'm not missing anybody else that like really popped. This is going to be a relatively short one. In the same vein as Anthony Edwards, right, where we saw, a top tier player whose cap has come down from weird recent performances. Let's bring up Damian Lillard, who I know went off this past game week against the Detroit Pistons, right? So his rare actually is a little bit more expensive than I thought. His rare year 1 is at $89. Yeah, so he dropped 76 against the Pistons, but his cap is 37 and he projects for 49 fantasy points. So that's pretty good. LeBron James is his cap was 44 this past game week. It's 42 this upcoming game week. He sticks out. I did mention a bunch of Bulls, and I did not look up DeMar DeRozan, who really is probably one of the best. I always do this. One of the best benefactors from the injury of Zach LaVine, right? And he's actually relatively affordable for that cap of 36, and he projects for almost 50 points, 48 points. So he sticks out as well. Something to monitor is, again, I know we've talked about trade talks the last couple of videos that we've done, right? Spencer Dinwiddie is having like a weird time in Brooklyn, and it sounds like he's going to be on the move. And Dinwiddie can be pretty, like, the Lakers seem to be interested in Spencer Dinwiddie, which I kind of like that fit. I think he would be pretty solid for them. I mean, that's not going to make the Lakers much better, but just from a fantasy perspective. But if Spencer Dinwiddie leaves, I don't imagine, if they trade and get D'Lo back, I don't imagine the Nets are keeping D'Lo. I feel like D'Lo would be moved again. Just something to pay attention to, because I do think like somebody like Dennis Smith Jr. or Cam Thomas, because the biggest problem we have with Brooklyn right now, even with Mikal Bridges, like, they just have so many guys that are fine, so nobody really sucks up most of the offense. They just suck up in general. So I would just pay attention to that, because I think that would make that situation a little bit more enticing moving forward. I think the Clippers bigs are still worth paying attention to. I'm trying not to just harp on the same guys every game week, but we talked about Plumlee last week and Daniel Tice as well. I think those are still pretty solid plays. But I think we're going to call it there. So I appreciate everybody watching. Let me know in the comments who's the guy you're going to be targeting this game week. But yeah, I hope everybody enjoys their Sunday. Have a nice little Sunday. We'll see you on tomorrow. Come back here to this very channel. We'll be live before lock, where we break down all of the late breaking NBA injury news, the projections, and then we just pick winners, baby. We pick winners. All right, best of luck with the rest of game week 25. We will see you for game week 26. Thanks for watching.